I really should say you're watching The Gun Show for now because Justin Trudeau might censor my show because a lot of the things I talk about on this show are the wonders of Canadian oil and gas, specifically Alberta's oil and gas. But, we love our friends in Saskatchewan and in northern British Columbia. And I talk about how wonderful and convenient and life-saving fossil fuels are. And yet, Justin Trudeau's latest piece of censorship legislation you might not have heard about, Bill C-59, outlaws advocacy for Canada's oil and gas, making it false advertising under the Competition Act. And this is not the first time these people have used the Competition Act to shut up their critics. Some of you might remember when environmentalist radicals complained to the Competition Bureau about our friends at Friends of Science over a billboard they put up saying that it was false advertising. You know what the billboard said? The main driver of climate change might be that burning ball of gas in the sky we call the sun. The people on the other side said that's false advertising and dragged our friends at Friends of Science through the process of a complaint because, as you know, the process is the punishment. Now, in Alberta, our Premier, Daniel Smith, has threatened to invoke the Sovereignty Act to fight back against Justin Trudeau's limits on the things that we can say about Canada's oil and gas sector. For their part, the industry has somewhat capitulated to this. The Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers has scrubbed their internet presence, and the Pathways Alliance has taken down their internet presence and put up something new. It's a statement saying there will be no more statements thanks to Justin Trudeau's Bill C-59. I want to read you an op-ed written by Rebecca Schultz, Alberta's Minister of Environment, about what Alberta plans to do about C-59 and why the Alberta government objects to it so much. Here we go. In February, federal NDP Charlie Angus introduced a bill that threatened fines and jail time for Canada's oil and gas industry if they tried to defend their record on the environment. Canadians were immediately outraged and the bill was laughed away as just plain crazy. A few months later, through last-minute amendments to C-59, MP Charlie Angus has managed to sneak his bill in through the back door. Supported by the federal Bloc Québécois, NDP, and the Liberals, the bill will clear the way for environmental activists to sue oil and gas companies over misleading environmental benefits. Environmental activists will be able to bring claims against oil and gas companies under so-called anti-greenwashing provisions. Companies that wish to defend their environmental record will have to prove that their claims can be substantiated by an internationally recognized methodology, a vague and undefined phrase that creates needless uncertainty for businesses. Any company not willing to risk millions of dollars in fines and legal fees will be forced to stay silent. And that is exactly the outcome that Minister of Environment and Climate Change Stephen Guilbeault and the federal Liberal NDP Bloc Québécois Alliance wants to happen. C-59 is currently in third reading in the House of Commons and may pass as early as this week. After that, it will head to the Liberal-dominated Senate, where it will be rubber-stamped. C-59, put plain and simply, is an undemocratic gag order. It must be stopped. Minister of Environment and Protected Areas, Rebecca Schultz. Now, because this bill was so hastily rushed through, a lot of industry advocates, like my friend Robbie Picard from Oil Sands Strong and Oil and Gas World magazine, are wondering what will happen to them if they say nice things about the Canadian oil and gas sector that has allowed so many families, including my own, to become members of the embattled middle class. Robbie tells me he's willing to go to jail, and he wants to tell that to you too. So joining me now is my friend Robbie Picard from Oil Sands Strong and Oil and Gas World magazine. My friend Robbie Picard from Oil Sands Strong and Oil and Gas World magazine, and we're discussing the implications of the Liberals' censorship bill, C-59, on activists just like him. Robbie, this is crazy because when the first iteration of this censorship was proposed by NDP MP Charlie Angus, everybody said it was crazy. including some liberals. They said it would never happen. But the liberals took it and then rolled it into an omnibus bill, stuck it under the Competition Act, and called it anti-greenwashing legislation. What do we know about this? What does it mean for people like you? Because we've already seen what the industry is doing in response to this, turtling. What does it mean for somebody like you?
Well, it has definitely changed the game because what it has done, and it has done very well, is it forced industry all of a sudden to just basically pull all of their data. And a lot of the activists use the data. For instance, the Canada only produces 1.5% of all global emissions. The oil sands only produce 0.15. These are stats that we've used in making our argument for a very long time. But I find the other part that's more scary is if someone challenges you, even if it's a ludicrous claim, they're saying that you're making the claim. They've really dampened your freedom of speech to make your case for an argument. Like, I mean, I think electric cars are shit. I have for many
Right.
years. Right? There's facts that they use that I don't agree with, but I certainly don't want the other side to go to jail or be fined for expressing their interpretation of data or facts. So it's scary, but candidly, it's also, I'll be honest, I'm very disappointed that everybody turtled and didn't put up any of a fight. So it's really weird because it's just a handful of us that are going to stay the course and fight this. And I'm going to fight it with everything I have. But also it goes to show you that Justin Trudeau's government is a dictator government, and Charlie Angus, who typically would have zero say, in fact, he's had zero say throughout his whole political career, is in a position of government. And it's crazy. The shocked industry, everyone I know is shocked by it. And it's fundamentally wrong. And it's an absolute attack on our freedom of speech. I'm shocked that this is happening in Canada right now. But also, I mean, shocked but not so shocked that industry has decided to turtle because you cannot expect the people and the liberals to support you. And I think that this is why there's a lot of division within the sort of the pro oil group right now, because I think they were quite surprised that after all of their wonderful ads they placed and we're really good we're really good people, the Trudeau government still screwed them. And in fact, far worse than anything I've ever seen. I mean, you got to hand it to that narcissistic pretty boy, Justin Trudeau. I mean, he is definitely more crazy than his father. His father had the charter, which we all use, and you can make some good cases about that. Well, Trudeau Jr. is nothing but a narcissist and scary. And I'm so happy that I pray that he is going to get defeated brutally, because it's a fundamental attack of my freedom of speech, your freedom of speech. And it shows you they'll do anything to hurt their opponent, and which I find hilarious, because the Trans Mountain Pipeline was actually saving their asses a little bit right now because it's producing tax revenue, which they desperately need. And everything this country has is one way because of oil and gas. And instead of letting it flourish and working with them to make it better, they just punish them. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the oil and gas companies who are desperately trying to improve their technologies. Now they can't talk about it. It's wrong.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. The old adage is feeding the crocodile so that it eats you last. That's, I think, what these oil and gas companies did. They sucked up to the liberals. They, invested in wind turbines and DEI and all sorts of nonsense in the hopes that the crocodile would eat them last. Well, the crocodile ate everybody else, and now it came for them too. And now, as you rightly point out, they can't even talk about the advancements that they're making, because now it's covered under this false advertising legislation. And what really astounds me is they can't talk about the tangible, measurable things that they're doing in the oil and gas sector to improve technology. But the other side of this can get away with saying such atrocious nonsense, as though we have, 12 years to save the planet. They said that back in 2018, and then they revised it to 7 or 8 years. So I think, are we dead yet? Did we die? I'm not sure, but the other side can make these outlandish claims that my SUV is causing global boiling, which is nonsense. How could you can't even measure the surface temperature of the earth. Like you can't. It's impossible. Um but they can say that we have to keep global temperatures under a certain degree,
Mhm.
which is something you can't measure, but you can't talk about the tangible advancements in technology in the oil and gas sector. It's
You
bizarre.
see, you see that meme going around where it says Canada is getting hotter 2 times than the rest of the country, and then you see it in Australia. Like the amount of crap that they put out. And Stephen Gabol like recently says, like I'm so sick of this scare tactics about this crisis. Like we had, a bit of a fire scare, we had a bit of a sprain. This has been the coldest, wettest summer
It's
in Fort
terrible.
McMurray. Horrible. My plants froze in June. We just got our garden boxes up and they were so like saturated with water that one of them collapsed. It's
It
not,
snowed in Calgary last week.
yeah, like it's like, like as a gay guy, I'm a poor excuse for a gay guy because my yard is not up to standards. Like it's just not. And yet that guy, that horrible criminal of a minister is up there, and we know, like it's called summer. It used to
Right.
be summer, and some summers had rain, and we had droughts, and other summers, like this is going to be one of the wettest years on record. Which we were told that we were going to have forest fire, catastrophic forest fires all year. I'm not buying it anymore. I
Right.
truly believe that weather is weather and we can prepare the best we can for it. I believe in low pollution. I believe that we
Mhm.
need to do better, and we are up here by far. I also believe in economic security and jobs and a country. I mean, I am so sick of us sending money to other countries, but we don't have a military. I mean, the response. I was talking to one of my friends who's a colonel in the military, and he said it's just we couldn't go to war with like any country. We would be done in minutes. This country has just fallen apart under this prime minister, and it's almost like he's using Canada like his Facebook or Instagram page, where he gives money that's not his to make himself look good. I'm just shocked at this. Like the amount of crap that we're going through right now, and it's insane. And I am going to fight this with all of my might. I've been having a lot of conversation. I'm not going to be quick about it. I'm going to be methodical, but it's hard. I'm running the business in Fort McMurray. I have staff. During the fire, I had to rush home. I was already on my bus, but I think it's time for us to like we don't want to be a bunch of frogs in boiling water that the government keeps screwing us and we're going to give up all of our rights. Like this is insane. This is an attack on freedom of speech. I'm sure if it was challenged it would probably be proven wrong, but I mean whether you like Justin Trudeau or hate Justin Trudeau, he's got to go.